What's up guys? With Phase 5 releasing soon, one of the biggest questions that always has to be asked when looking towards the next phase and the next raid is, what is the BIS gear and what items should I be going after first? Mainly this is kind of what are the best upgrades or the biggest upgrades. And so today we're going to go over your Phase 5 BIS list and in what order you should be prioritizing getting them. As always, if you like this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe. My name is Sarth, and you know what time it is. Let's get right into it. Okay, so there's two ways I could really go about this video today, guys. And that's switching between either completely going through a BIS list for you or looking through Atlas loot and basically going down through the raid. But before I really get started with any of that, there are two major things that I need you to all be paying attention to before you're looking at any of the BIS gear as well. And that's one, if you're deciding to either be swords or daggers, because that will change what you're looking for first slightly. You're still kind of looking for the same thing first, and I'll get into that in a second. And if you're going daggers, you want to look out for the brand new backstab. Now this is massive. We finally get a new rank of backstab. Backstab rank 9 is going to drop in the raid. So keep an eye out for a book that will let you get the new rank of backstab. It's not a loot item or a gear piece per se. So that's why I didn't really want to include that in your BIS list of the gear. But I do want to mention that beforehand. Also, a new rank of enchant for your gloves is going to be released, and that's 15 agility to the gloves. It's a pretty expensive enchant, but you're gonna want to get it if you are going for your BIS. And one last thing before I get into it, I do want to mention that there is some sims that can say that your Darkmantle gear can pretty much be exactly as good as normal BIS. So you can check out my other video on the Darkmantle gear, the tier 0.5 set up there in one of the corners. But we are looking at the absolute BIS pieces today, and let's do it. Alright, so I'm gonna go down boss by boss so that we can look specifically at which items you want to try to get off of which bosses, and then at the end I will go over a priority list ranking the items that you want to get. So right now we're just going to talk about which items you want off all of the bosses in a row. So to start things off with the Prophet Scarum, and there's two pieces really from this boss that you're focused on, but one of those pieces actually can drop off of almost every boss, so I'll get to that in 1 second. The first piece you're looking for is the Cloak of Concentrated Hatred. This is going to be your cloak upgrade, and it is even an upgrade from the Cloak of Fire Maw. It's not a massive upgrade though, so you're not absolutely diving into this one. This cloak is actually just as good as the cloak off of Cthun, but it's a lot easier to get even with a 6.5% drop chance because the cloak off of Cthun works kind of like the head of Neth. So you might not get priority on that piece just yet. Past the cloak is the big ticket item, and that is the Imperial Karachi armaments. Now these armaments can actually drop off of every single boss in the raid except for Cthun. So you're always going to be looking out for this, and this is like, oh, if this drops, you are so excited if you're a dagger rogue. And that is because you get the Blessed Karachi Pugio. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Someone can correct me. Pugio, the Blessed Karachi Pugio. This weapon has 134 top end damage, so it's slightly higher than Purge, 60.6 DPS, it's slightly faster as well, 7 stamina, 1 crit, 1 hit, and 18 attack power. This is a huge upgrade for both your main hand and your offhand if you are daggers. So you're looking to get 2 of these unless you are the exact person that is prioritized to the biggest item in this raid, and we'll get into that as we move on. But as a dagger rogue, you are still trying to get 2 of these because they're not unique, and these are huge upgrades for both pieces. The next boss on our list is the Bug Trio, and you don't really have anything you need to watch out specifically for on this boss for your BIS list. There's some good nature resistance gear, and also he can drop the armaments, as I was saying earlier, which is the weapon. So you are actually excited on getting gear from literally all of the bosses. Moving on to Battleguard Sartura. This is the next boss to drop another piece off of your BIS list, and those are the Gloves of Enforcement. These are actually going to be BIS for both daggers and swords, pending you get the dagger off of Cthun. If you do, then you can switch out of your ACLGs and use these gloves, and it'll actually be a very large upgrade if you have that opportunity. But if not, you're still using ACLGs over these. So sword rogues should get prio on this item for the most part. Next up on the list is Fangchris the Unyielding, and this is actually another very exciting one for every rogue because this boss drops the Ancient Karachi Ripper. This is your new sword bis item, and this item is pretty amazing as well. 11 stamina, 1 crit, and 20 attack power. 2.8 weapon speed as well, and a really nice top end damage. We all know weapons are usually our highest priority item, and there's going to be a couple other things that are very large upgrades as well, but this is a very high prio item as a sword rogue, and I don't even know if I have to say it because your weapons are always really the biggest thing, as we know for melee. Past Fangchris is Visitus, and for Visitus you're mostly focused again on the armaments. Also, this is where you're going to get your first tier piece. So the tier piece that drops off of Visitus is going to be the Bindings of Command, and these will give you access to your boots and to your shoulders. So both of these are bis pieces, so you absolutely do need to get these pieces. The Karachi Bindings of the Command. These drop off of Visitus, but they also actually drop off of Princess Huhuran. Visitus also drops a ring in the form of the Ring of the Karachi Fury, and if you don't have the Master Dragon Slayer ring or the Band of Acuria, this can be an upgrade for you. It's just slightly worse than both of those. It is actually better for PvP than Band of Acuria, but it's slightly worse in PvE. Next up, the boss we've been stacking all of our Nature Res gear for, and if you haven't done your Nature Res sets yet, I also did a guide on Phase 5 Nature Res gear, so I'll link that somewhere there and also in the description. But next up is Princess Huhuran. So from Princess Huhuran, the things you're focused on primarily are once again the tier pieces, which are the boots and the shoulders, your Death Dealer boots and your Death Dealer spalders, as well as the armaments to get that Pugio. The next boss is where things start getting a lot harder in this raid. And so here we are on the Twin Emperors. So the Twin Emperors actually drop your next tier piece, and that's going to be the Helm. It drops in the form of the item Velkor's Diadem, and then you're going to turn it in, of course. But the helm is Death Dealer's Helm, and this is an awesome upgrade as well on top of your tier 2. So all of the tier pieces are going to be slight upgrades over everything else that you've been using before, except for actually the boots off of Huhuran and Visitus, and the boots are slightly worse, ever so slightly worse than the boots of Shadowflame for PvE if you're using them on their own and not as a set bonus. So be aware of that. The next thing off of this boss that is actually really exciting are going to be your brand new bracers. And those bracers are the Karachi Execution Bracers. These bracers have 15 strength, 16 agility, and 1 hit. Also 14 stamina for your survivability, but these bracers are really awesome, but they're also not that huge of an upgrade over the Bloodfang bracers. So be aware of that. A lot of people are gonna see these and think they are absolutely amazing, and they are, but these shouldn't be super high on your prio list. Now we're on to the meat of things, guys. The second to last boss in AQ40 is Oro. Uru. So our favorite Arouca is going to drop your next piece of the tier set, and that is actually going to be the leggings. So your Death Dealer's legs are going to come from Oro's intact hide, and this again is going to be a bis piece. This is not, once again, the biggest upgrade. It's a lot stronger than the bracers or the boots if you have the boots of the Shadowflame. And so this is another piece that you are absolutely looking out for. But on top of that, guys, we get our new bis trinket off this boss, and that's Jom Gabar. There's a lot of things in this raid that are hard to pronounce, but this is your first and greatest on-use trinket, and this is going to be one of your biggest focuses coming into the raid. You absolutely do want to get this trinket, and you will also again start having to fight with your warriors to get it. The lucky thing here is that if you get exalted with Cenarian Circle, you have another option of an on-use trinket in the form of Earth Strike. And Earth Strike is an incredible upgrade from what we've been using beforehand, especially for how things have been going with these really short fights for most raids. But Jom Gabber is actually still a bigger upgrade from that. So you're gonna be intertwining this. You'll probably be able to get Exalted first and grab your Earth Strike until you can get a Jom Gabbar, because that is a guaranteed upgrade because it's just from reputation, and this is a drop that you're gonna have to fight other people for. So be aware of this item being very, very strong, and we do want this. This is an upgrade for us that we are absolutely looking out for. And next we move on to the big boss himself, Cthun. Oh, I am so excited to kill this boss. I don't think I could contain my excitement for this raid. I'm so pumped for a new raid, and it's gonna be so fun. The first thing, like I mentioned earlier, was the other cloak from this raid, and it's just as good as the cloak off of Karam. So this is called the Cloak of the Fallen God. You get this from the Eye of Cthun. But once again, like I was mentioning, there's also items for the casters and the healers, and your casters are gonna get a ring that gives them 37 spell damage and 1 hit, which is insane. And your healers get a necklace that give you 6 mana per 5 and 57 healing. So this caster ring is like bonkers. So don't expect to get this cloak right off the bat. The next thing I want to look at here is going to be the tier piece off of Cthun, and that is called the Carapace of the Old God. This is the next one that you'll be turning in, and that will give you the Death Dealer's Vest. This piece as well is pretty amazing, but if you have the tier 2 chest, this isn't like a godly upgrade. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm actually going to put things in a priority list order from biggest upgrades and what you should be focusing on getting. But this boss is the big one, right? This boss is the big one because right here, guys, the Belt of Never-Ending Agony. 64 attack power, 1 crit, 1 hit. This item is, oh, whoa. Guys, you are absolutely trying to get this. You are so focused on this. This is the biggest upgrade other than weapons in this entire raid. So the Belt of Never-Ending Agony, go after this. Good luck to everybody. This is a huge, huge item, and it's kind of nice if you are a sword rogue to be focused on this because there's the next item, which is by far, bar none, the biggest upgrade in this raid. And that, of course, is the Dagger, Death's Sting. 1.8 attack speed, 144 top end damage, 66.4 DPS, 10 stamina, 38 attack power, but the big thing here, right? The huge thing here is 3 daggers, plus 3 daggers. We all know that the golden spot from weapon expertise is 308, so you get 5 weapon expertise just from your talents, and right now we're using ACLG to compensate for the rest. But if you get this dagger, if you get this dagger, then you can swap out the ACLGs. This item is a Dagger Rogue's wet dream. Sorry for the analogy, but it is absolutely insane how good this item is. And the hardest part about it is it's only off of the last boss, and the drop chance is atrocious. 2% drop chance. So if you are prioed this item, you probably won't see it for a long time. Try to get yourselves the Pugios, or at least 1 Pugio, and then be focused on getting this item above anything else, as well as the belt. You're gonna probably know in your guild if you are prioed the biggest upgrade in the entire raid because everyone's gonna be fighting for the same thing. As usual, kind of like with DFT or CTS, this is the item that you want to make sure that you are high on the prio list, you're saving your DKP, or you're talking to your loot council and making sure that they know that this is what you need. This is it. Now the last thing that I do quickly want to mention on here is the next item that would be an actual Abyss piece. It's hard to get, right? Very few people in the entire world are going to get this, but your sword rogues can go after the Ravencrest Legacy, which looks like a Maladath. It's absolutely beautiful, and this is an insane offhand, especially for Alliance, like as a human, because you don't need the weapon skill from swords, and you get kings for the stats. So this item is really good, but the hard part here is that this is the item that you get from the very last part of the chain for opening the AQ gates. So if you get this weapon, you also are getting yourself the bug mount. And I don't know why I'm plugging so many of my videos, but I also made a video talking about exactly how hard this is gonna be to get. So if you think that you're gonna be getting the bug mount on your server, manage your expectations. But I did want to mention this sword just so you're aware of it. And next up, I'm going to put up on the screen an exact priority list order that you're going to be getting things, and this order is actually what things are the biggest upgrades. So first of all, it's the weapons. The huge one again is Death Sting. After that, it's gonna be the dagger is the next biggest upgrade. It's a bigger upgrade than the sword, so the Blessed Karachi Pugio. Then, of course, you've got the sword in the Ancient Karachi Ripper, and moving on from there are gonna be smaller upgrades, but your next huge upgrade from armor, the biggest upgrade from armor in here is gonna be that belt. The belt is insane, and it is a pretty massive upgrade for you guys. Next up is gonna be the helm from your tier 2.5. So you are focused on getting this above any of the other tier 2.5 pieces because this item in itself is the biggest upgrade of the set. Then we have the gloves, which are actually amazing also if you can get Death Sting, but as a dagger rogue, you probably aren't gonna take Prio on this until you do get Death Sting. So the next thing is gonna be the gloves for sword rogues for the most part. Following that is the shoulders, and this is another big upgrade because we've been stuck with the tier 1 shoulders unless we're using 8 of 8. And as well as you're putting together these items, you do want to look at what pieces you're breaking apart, like if you're using Darkmantle or if you're using 8 of 8, what pieces you're breaking apart as well. But yes, the next big item is the shoulders, and then from there I'll just post it on the screen. With this list, I did actually kind of leave out the trinket, but the trinket is going to be another one of those really big ticket items that you're focused on getting, but you have to fight against your warriors for it. For now, if you can't get that, if you can't fight your warriors for that, or if you want to prio your loot elsewhere, just make sure to pick up Earthstrike. And there you have it, guys. This is your absolute BIS list for AQ Phase 5. And this is the rogue priority that you want to focus on getting these items. You really should always focus on having a priority list and knowing these things because other people might not do this sort of research and they might just see an item and roll for it every time and they won't actually know how good or how much of an upgrade it is. So have this priority list in your back pocket so you know exactly what you're looking at first and what you're trying to get. Again, the biggest things are the weapons, and that's pretty standard in almost every raid for all of the melee. And the sword, you'll probably actually have to compete with your warriors, especially if you're on the alliance side. And the dagger, you might actually have to compete with some of your warriors as well, mainly your tank, but it shouldn't go to a tank. It absolutely should be rogue prio because tanks have other things they can use in that slot, and it's such a big upgrade for your rogues. But there is a case to be made for your main tank getting this dagger if he needs it. So be aware of that, guys. It's not big enough for them to get to the 308 with just that. So they do also still need other items, but they can make a case. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. My name is Sarth. I will be doing this raid as it comes out, and I will be streaming as much as possible, going over the preparation and trying to get the bug mount as well. So make sure to hit me up and check me out on Twitch, twitchtv.sarth, every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. I do mention this often, but I'm going to try to start streaming more often, and so keep an eye out for that, guys. Other than that, if you like the video or you like the content, of course, just like and subscribe, and I will keep bringing these sorts of things to you guys. I am actually rooting for all of you guys. I hope that Death Sting drops for all of us in our first run, so let's crush it. I'll see you guys on the next one.